Hello and welcome back to the online partner selection and marriage lecture. We will continue talking about finding a relationship partner. But first, I'd like you to watch another video titled The Science of Sex Appeal: What Women Find Attractive. This video demonstrates how marriage gradient is also connected to attractiveness. The clip shows what women find attractive, so how things like status, higher income, lucrative jobs, or fancy cars can impact women's perceptions related to a man's physical attractiveness and his desirability as a partner. This fits with the marriage gradient by demonstrating how women are looking for higher status. So at this time, go ahead and watch that video, and then when you finish, return to this lesson. So moving on to physical attractiveness, it's important to understand that physical attractiveness is important at early stages of the relationship, especially in attracting someone or being attracted to someone. Knowing certain things about a partner or potential partner can make them seem more or less attractive. As you just watched in the Science of Sex Appeal video, women value high status, and that can impact how attractive they rate men. There's also something called the halo effect. This is when we tend to attribute positive qualities to more attractive individuals. Attractiveness may be influenced by several specific traits. For example, someone that is perceived as attractive, due in part to physical traits, may also be more likely to be perceived as kind or intelligent. The role of attractiveness in producing the halo effect has been illustrated through a number of studies. For example, some studies have revealed that attractiveness may affect perceptions tied to life success and personality, as well as to trustworthiness and friendliness. People perceived as being more attractive were more likely to be perceived as successful, having a great personality, being trustworthy, and friendly. So, being attractive can afford you certain benefits and advantages, with others assuming you also have additional good qualities. Shown in the video clip, status can also influence how attractive you appear to others as well. So having higher status can impact how attractive you are perceived to be. Introducing a cross-cultural study, 10,000 men and women from 37 countries were surveyed to identify the most desired traits in a potential mate. The preferences for the top 4 characteristics preferred by both men and women were identical: mutual attraction or love, dependable character, emotional stability or maturity, so being composed and able to withstand minor setbacks, and having a pleasing disposition, so being kind, sweet, and lovable, were in the top 4. So again, the 4 characteristics preferred by both men and women were mutual attraction or love, dependable character, emotional stability or maturity, and having a pleasing disposition. Similarly to the video clip you just watched, there were also some gender differences found. For example, men favored good looks and women favored ambition and economic potential. It is also important to note that there were also cultural differences, as Knox and Shaw discussed. In some cultures, there are other traits that people prefer. For example, in China, filial piety, or respect and care for your parents, was another highly valued trait that wasn't ranked as high in the United States. So moving on to interracial dating. Frequency of occurrence of these intercultural, interracial dating and marriages actually varies by ethnic group. Specifically, a growing percentage of American marriages are interracial or interethnic. In fact, a 2017 Pew Research Center report detailed that a record of about 17% of all new marriages that occurred in the United States in 2015 were between spouses of a different race or ethnicity. This statistic increased dramatically from 3% in 1967 when the U.S. Supreme Court legalized interracial marriages. Among all newlyweds in 2015, 11% of white, 18% of Black, 27% of Hispanic, and 29% of Asian newlyweds married outside of their ethnic group. When looking at all married couples in 2015, regardless of when they married, the share of intermarriages reached a record of 10% compared to in 1980 when that share was just 3.2%. So moving on to gender variations, trends are gendered, but gender patterns in intermarriage vary widely across ethnic groups. Specifically, about 24% of all Black newlyweds in 2015 married outside of their race, compared with just 12% of Black females newlyweds. So Black males tend to marry outside of their race more than Black females. Among Asians, the gender pattern runs the other way. About 36% of Asian female newlyweds married outside of their race in 2010. Compared with just 21% of Asian male newlyweds. So Asian women tend to marry outside of their race more than Asian men. Interestingly, intermarriage rates among white and Hispanic newlyweds do not vary by gender. So getting into regional differences, we also see regional differences in the United States, with intermarriage in the United States tending to tilt west. About 1 in 5, so 22% of all newlyweds in Western states married someone of a different race or ethnicity between 2008 and 2010, compared with 14% in the South, 13% in the Northeast, and 11% in the Midwest. At the state level, more than 4 in 10, so 42%, of newlyweds in Hawaii between 2008 and 2010 were intermarried. The other states with an intermarriage rate of 20% or more were all west of the Mississippi River. When discussing metropolitan versus non-metro areas, 18% of individuals living in metropolitan areas are married to someone outside of their race or ethnicity, compared to 11% of those living in non-metropolitan areas. However, this finding also has ethnic differences. Whites are more likely to intermarry in metropolitan areas, but Hispanics and Asians are more likely to intermarry in non-metro areas. When discussing specific pairs of newlyweds today, Hispanic and white intermarriage is the most common married couple union, which accounts for about 42% of intermarriages, followed by unions of Asian and white spouses accounting for 15%, white and multiracial unions accounting for 12%, and white and Black marital unions accounting for 11%. So getting into cultural and societal effects on freedom versus constraints, for most of U.S. history, a majority of states had laws that made it illegal for whites and non-whites to marry. Many states repealed these laws after World War II, and the Supreme Court declared such laws unconstitutional in 1967. Attitudes regarding interracial and interethnic marriages are becoming more supportive. In 2017, the Pew Research Center reported that 39% of adults agree that marrying someone of a different race is good for society as a whole, which is up from 24% in 2010. When this is parsed out by gender, 43% of men and 34% of women believe intermarriages are good for society. This can be further parsed out by political party as well, with nearly half of Democrats believing this and only 28% of Republicans. So, who is most likely to marry outside their race ethnic group? This is important, so I recommend taking notes here. Those that are most likely to marry outside their racial or ethnic group are individuals who attended college, were born in the U.S. as opposed to another country, are in their early 30s, those who have been previously married, and individuals who live in urban areas or who live west of the Mississippi. Also, individuals who marry outside their ethnic groups describe themselves as more self-confident, autonomous, and immune to what others think. In terms of the success of these relationships, currently, racially and ethnically mixed couples are more likely, on average, to get divorced than those couples of similar ethnic backgrounds. However, as interracial ethnic marriage becomes more common, we expect this trend to be reduced. The story about increased likelihood for divorce with interracial or interethnic married couples is really about the extent to which couples are similar and different in additional domains that affect relationships. I will talk about factors that contribute to marital success among interracial couples in part 3. But before I end this, I want to pose a question for you to be thinking about. What are some of the factors that create challenges, and what factors better support interracial unions?